Given his coaching effort in the final 2 minutes of the game, we weren't surprised to hear Dusty May chant, "Go White," in reply to the visitors at Chrysler. You're listening to Can't Read, Can't Write. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Can't Read, Can't Write, the podcast that proves Spartans can talk. I'm Mike Jones, joined as always by the Rafferty to my Benetti, Kevin Gregg, and the Robbie to his own Hummel, Alex Plum.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
I have no
loved
idea.
It.
Yeah.
The Robbie to his own
Hummel. I'm gonna say it's a nice thing, whoever wrote it, and thank you. Thank you.
But if you wrote or answered
Looking
an
in the mirror.
SAT question like that, I don't think you'd be getting into college. It does not follow. So can't
very
read,
good.
can't write, indeed.
Can't Hummel his own Robbie. Very good. Very good.
Gentlemen, how are you doing? It was a good week, a fun week.
A great week. A lovely week.
One of the best weeks.
Truly. And we've had some good ones recently. In fact, we've talked about how this is a fun team to watch as it plays basketball. And then there was a bit of a lull, but now we're back to it being a very fun team to watch play basketball. And I've enjoyed it immensely.
You've enjoyed watching basketball. It's been good.
Yeah. You know what I didn't enjoy? Having to carve out an hour of my life to listen to you already talk about this game on Sheehan. What are you going to do? Like, how are you've used all your stuff already. How are we going to discuss the Michigan game?
And some of yours. Look, I think we got to give credit to Sheehan.
Sure.
Dude gets nothing but big polls.
He's
Noah
great.
Eagle, Robbie Hummel, me. It's just been
Me.
He's been on a tear. He's been on a tear. No, that was a lot of fun. If people haven't had a chance to check it out, it was good hanging out with Sheehan after the Michigan win.
For those that won't or haven't listened to that, it starts with Matt Sheehan setting expectations for the audience that he's not feeling well. So it's going to be difficult for him to talk over the next half hour. He set the expectations for half hour. And then Jonesy pops in to be like, that won't be a problem. I'll be feeling that waveform through till midnight, baby.
Well, what you didn't catch was that it was part of a bit about us having cough syrup because we were both under the weather. But it was, in fact, Matt Sheehan taking a pull of a beverage.
A beverage.
Yeah.
Beverages were had over there.
Yes.
Locked on.
Beverages were had, and it was a great time. Genuinely always a delight to hang out with Matt. All right, but this is not Locked On Spartans. This is Can't Read, Can't Write, and we should do our podcast. So thank you, of course, for listening. And if you can do us a small favor, please share that pod with Spartans in your life. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Of course, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_pod. If you've made the move over to Blue Sky, at SpartanPod. And if you're listening on the podcast form, just head over to YouTube and hit subscribe. That'd be, honestly, a great thing you could do for us. What are we doing this week, gentlemen? We got victories to talk about, teenage boys. What do we got going on?
Kevin, please do the honors this week.
No, I insist. You know, we got you here so infrequently. I think it's the least I can do is cede the floor.
Thank you. Generous to a fault, I might add. Well, we'll lead off. We'll start off behind the green while football always leads. Eli Bickle, full, voluptuously lipped Eli Bickle. They have said, folks have referred to him as, will be how we start this podcast. And no one is happier than I am about this commit. So we'll be really diving in to talk about that. We'll talk about basketball, where, again, the best week ever was had. Not as much for the women, but for the men for sure. Senior night was not our night in hockey. But that's the sporting. We'll head off Grand River to talk about all kinds of various things. The cahoots foot with college football, soccer, Illinois getting absolutely shellacked at Madison Square Garden.
Truly
and then
murdered.
we will preview some games, basketball, hockey, and then take your questions, your social media questions.
Oh, we should rebranded. That's sticking.
Sticky. It's good.
I'll just start tweeting out. Please leave your social media questions here.
Hello, folks. Social media questions below, please.
I didn't like it. It's good. People like it.
All right. Let's indeed head behind that green wall. And yes, we are going to start with football briefly. We do pick up a commitment from Eli Bickle. He is currently playing offensive tackle, TBD on where he ends up. He's 6'6", 270. Number 48th ranked offensive tackle in the country. Number 11th prospect out of the state of Michigan, according to the 24/7 composite, and 6'10 nationally. 24/7 notably, if anyone cares, is substantially lower on Eli Bickle than other services because they have him as the 75th offensive tackle in comparison to 48. So the math isn't really math in there. And the 17th prospect in the state of Michigan. Offer list, Greg, I got to imagine you're thrilled.
Yeah, you got your Northwesterns, you got your Miamis of Ohio's, you got your Cincinnati's, you got your Central Michigans, which he did well to ignore that one entirely, and Cornell Big Reds getting involved here as well. So maybe he's a grower, Plum. That's my hope. We've got a Twitter question, a social media question, pardon me, about this upcoming football class and that person's excitement for it. And I would like to explore that whole idea when we get there because Eli, welcome to the team. But there continues to be a trend here from our peer groups of our commitments. So happy to have you, Eli. Plum's particularly excited. And
I'll just say he's got a very he's got a friendly face. Okay, it looks like a friendly guy. So
kind eyes.
Kind eyes. And I should take some ownership here. It is never it should never be in this pod's repertoire to objectify anybody, physical attributes notwithstanding. So I will take my own advice on this one and welcome him in a spirit of fraternity and professionalism.
Professionalism, of course. Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're going to move on to chat some hoops. And it was a great week for Michigan State. We've got two games to talk about. Michigan State denies Purdue at the Breslin 75-66 and then beats Michigan at Chrysler 75-62. Let's start with that Purdue game, who was, at the time, pretending that they might be in contention for a Big Ten title until, of course, they dropped a giant deuce to us, and then most recently against Indiana.
Yeah, they're on a string of 4 consecutive dookies. Michigan, Wisconsin, Michigan State, and Indiana. They're taking a real tumble over there.
Yeah.
Hate to see it.
Hate to see it.
Couldn't have happened to a better program.
What did you say?
I liked it. I loved it. Program.
I said program. Program.
Okay, because it felt like the R was silent on that one.
Oh no! But it kind of felt like it might have been.
It is West Lafayette after all.
Yeah,
there's more R's coming, so it's fine.
So the the thing about Purdue is that you had 3 primary players that you needed to worry about: Tre Kaufman-Renn, Braden Smith. Many people were calling the best point guard in the country. Want to reevaluate that one. And then Fletcher Lawyer. Tre Kaufman-Renn had himself a decent day. I think Michigan State adapted in the second half. Ended up with 24 points, only 3 boards. But Braden Smith, who still kind of got his stat line in the sense that he had 17 points and 8 assists, 6 turnovers, though. It was a very inefficient night from Braden Smith. And then Fletcher Lawyer, 2 for 5 from the field, ended with 8 points, but like one of them was a garbage time 3. Completely shut down. And I believe that was a Jaden Aiken special.
Yeah. We've got to talk about 2 things for this game. One is the defense. The defense was spectacular in this game, particularly on the guards. And the other one is Purdue only had 12 total turnovers in this game, but it felt like every single one of those went for a transition bucket. So we've been worried at times this team is atrophied offensively, which is crazy because the numbers are still pretty good for this team offensively. But this was a great get out and run offensive performance by the team. And then also just a lockdown defensive performance by a number of our guys. So well done. Well done across the board. When the threes aren't falling, and fortunately, we only attempted 13 of them, scoring 4, which is actually, by our standards, pretty good.
Fire.
That's only just under 30%. I mean, did you guys feel like in the last 15, 20 minutes, like there was any doubt in this game? It felt like once the second half got started and we went on that run, like we went up from, what was it at the half? 2-point lead or something like that. And then it got up to like a 9-10 point lead. It felt like that was going to be it. And we continued it, right? I don't think it ever even got that close, maybe within 5 a couple times, but.
And it was all, to your point, that was all offense generated off of defense. I mean, that was really the catalyst. Also, this was a big-time Cohen Carr game, if I'm recalling correctly.
And a Franklin Fiddler game.
Yeah, Frankie had quite a night. Yep.
Yeah, I think a lot of people talk about the alley-oop that Jace had on the scramble for the ball and then just kind of heaved it up in a sort of, at the time you're like, what are you doing? And then, oh my God, there's Cohen Carr for an insane dunk. But my favorite dunk of the game actually was, it was Fiddler and Carr on a fast break with no one there. Yeah. And Fiddler was like, nah, man, I got this.
I get to do this myself every once in a while.
I can indeed tomahawk as well. And like, I think we've talked about it. One of the things that I loved in that moment too was that the joy from Cohen Carr to see it. You could see someone falling into the like, hey, that's my shtick, like that's my thing. But there was genuine.
I'm kind of the dunker guy around here. I don't know if you've seen or heard anything about that. Jace is the Nepo baby. I'm dunker guy. Like we all have our roles.
This was Jace led the team with 12 points. Like this was a all around team effort that really felt sort of core to Michigan State identity as we've known it for the bulk of Tom Izzo's tenure here.
Frankie Fiddler had himself a day. Had a dunk, had a number of putbacks at the rim, kind of like sat in that
one for one
zone.
Behind the arc.
Hit a 3. Hit as excited as I was about Tomahawk dunk, I was equally as excited, and it seemed like he was equally as excited about hitting that 3. So happy for Franklin on this one. And I think this is also kind of the emergence of Tre Holloman, of like, hey, maybe it's my team. Maybe I impose myself and kind of really push. Not that I don't love Jeremy Fears, I do, but maybe is there a little bit of like a point guard situation that we're starting here right now? Is there like a late season quarterback controversy? I don't know. I
don't think so. It doesn't. Jeremy Fears in this game went 0 for 3 from the field, 0 for 2 from behind the arc, and I'd put good money that those two weren't necessarily like I don't recall, but I'd put money that at least one of those was like a late shot clock, need to throw the ball up situation.
I believe it was. I believe it was like he was 5 feet behind the 3-point line and just
Yeah. So, which is all to say, Jeremy Fear's only meaningful contribution in this game was 6 assists, 0 turnovers. Fears does need to shoot more, and we'll get to that in the Michigan game, in that he did show some offensive contributions. But my point about the only stat that really mattered for him was the 6 assists, and then otherwise did nothing other than play great defense, is that I think Jeremy Fears sees himself as it is as a distributor, right? Like, that's my job. I don't see anyone complaining that Tre is finishing games. Like, obviously, Fears is going to be here longer than Tre in the sense, I don't see there's a controversy here. Like, I think Tre finishes the game, Fears starts the game.
Yeah. Well, that's good, because as we've established, this podcast gets played every week in the training facility, and we wouldn't be responsible for starting a quarterback controversy. So, guys, it's been put to bed. Cohen, you're still dunker guy. Jace, you're still Nepo baby, and Jeremy Fears is still technically your team. But Tre, we see you, bud.
We see you.
Well, also, can we shout out Tre for this, Plum, that he got swapped out of the starting lineup. They went on that massive run of win after win after win after win. And then they pulled Jason to start instead of Tre. Probably the right move. But no sulking. Tre just continues to be awesome.
Solid. Yep. Which is, I guess, a testament to this team. We saw this, and maybe this is the time to transition to the Michigan game. They had nearly as many points from the bench as they did from the starters in this game. Just again, speaking to the all-around talent that this team possesses. But as I like to do, I love to start off by highlighting someone who caught my ire. And this is now true for both games. Carson Cooper went 1 for 4 from the charity stripe against Don't. And I don't know that he fared much better. He didn't actually make it to the charity stripe at all. But 6 points in 19 minutes and 1 turnover is not, 8 rebounds was actually pretty fucking good. So maybe I should shut the fuck up.
Carson had himself a good game against Michigan.
But I will say,
speaking of going for other guys' roles, Carson Cooper was like, maybe I'm oop guy in this one.
Yeah, he did try to be, didn't he? I don't know. He was in a game defined in the first half by sloppiness. Carson Cooper was not helping us with any sort of form or skillful distribution of the ball. I think that's the thing that concerns me a little bit the most about this team. But let me hold that point, and Mike, let you lead us into an overview of our victory over Michigan.
It was resounding. Despite having a 4-point deficit at the half, Michigan State wins 75-62 in a game that I believe in the last 4 minutes, again, a team is held scoreless. Michigan State came out the second half and went on an absolute tear. Finished. There's a handful of things that led to this victory. 1, shot opportunities. Michigan State had, I believe, 11 more shot opportunities. Coincidentally, that's because we demolished them on the boards.
Yeah.
By offensive rebounding, I think we kept them out of their zone. They also learned how to attack the zone in this game. It would be foolish to not acknowledge that they went 9 for 22 from behind the arc. I think we would all agree that if Michigan State was shooting 22 threes, if you just told us that stat before the game, you'd be like, oh, this game did not go well. But they took the shots and they made the shots. It was I don't know. This was a great win, and look, we can acknowledge Michigan's a good team too.
They were.
They handled the 2 7-footers playing pick and roll well. This was a great game.
Yeah, Vladislav it was really kept in check in this one. Can I help? Can you guys help me with something?
Please.
When the game started and we went on an 8-0, or we got up 8 points, a big lead at the beginning of the game, I thought to myself, uh-oh, I don't trust this. I don't like this. I don't like the feel of this. And then Michigan goes on an 18-point run to go up like 10 or whatever it is. That was somehow when I felt more comfortable about the game. Am I broken as a basketball fan? Am I just a shallow husk of a human being to be like, I don't like it when my team's up 8 points in the first half, and then when we're down 10, I'm like, oh, okay, we
thank
got
God.
a shot.
Now we're gonna win
this one.
That's right.
It's like the Parks and Rec when Entertainment 720 throws that final party and they open the doors and no one's there and like, oh, thank God.
Well, and you're not alone in this. I mean, with 1 minute and 30 seconds remaining or thereabouts in the game, Izzo called a timeout and we were up 7, and Izzo is screaming at them, pointing at his head, keep your heads, because he knows better than anyone how we could piss 7 points away right down our fucking legs in 4 seconds, shorter even.
I think, Plum, he wasn't talking to the team. I think he was saying, Dusty May doesn't know how to use this. Dusty May has no plan for this part of the game. They did not. Michigan.
It was
did
get
nothing.
me a hat. Get me a hat.
Was this the third game in a row that we held our opponents scoreless in the last 5 minutes of play?
I think
least the last 5 minutes?
Is the Foster Lawyer garbage time
Fletcher.
3-point shot.
Fletcher, Foster, who fucking cares?
Sorry, my bad.
Blah, 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 blah.
But yes, you're right, Plum.
I
Absolutely.
mean, and it's which I guess is a real testament to our persistence. So maybe this is where I will now make my comment. 2 turnovers apiece, I think, all in the first half by Jaden Akins, Jeremy Fears, and Tre Holloman. Well, at least one of those 6 was in the second half. But the number of, I don't know. I'm not, maybe this isn't a bad thing. Maybe this just goes to speak to their physicality, their desire to interrupt play, but the utter lack of what feels like control in important moments. And when I, of course, pay attention the most, Kevin, to your point, is when we're up by 10, ready to just absolutely turn the ball over for no reason because we're moving too fast. Jaden Akins at one point overran the ball and then looked behind him and then watched the ball, then catch up to him and go right out of bounds. And I was like, what? Jeremy Fears just let a Michigan player just kind of poke the ball away from him, not once, but twice. So I don't know what that is. And that's what I was seeing with Cohen Carr. I'm sorry, with Carson Cooper. My apology. Same kind of just lanky, aloof, doofed. He was doofing.
There was a doofusness happening.
Doofless.
Tre Holloman, I believe, threw a 72-foot pass for Cohen Carr to alley-oop that you were like,
what? Why?
In the first half, you recall Jeremy Fears fouled the Michigan player, like he thought there was a foul to give, but they were in the double bonus.
I know.
There were a lot of
just this kind of and I get you're at Chrysler Arena and they're all wearing yellow, which is just an absolutely undignified color.
And they're wearing these cowboy hats, and you're wondering why.
I mean, yes, we get it. Brokeback Mountain. It's 20 years old. Just fucking calm down. We understand with the virtue signaling and the pride celebrations, but it's February. This isn't your month. Anyway, it was a lot to watch and really on television, too bright. So I get it. I get being there had to have been very discombobulating for them, but not a great look. Still, we won. And we won with convincingness. So,
we got doofusness and convincingness all
Thank you.
in the same game.
Celebrate that.
What was the most convincingness of the entire game to me? Tre Holloman, Tre's. That was the moment that I knew we got this. And when I finally saw the people in the broadcast showed everyone leaving with 2 minutes left, I was like, you should have just left when Tre hit that third try. That was the game. And
can we unpack this? Because where the fuck has that been all season?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
Well, he's done it one other time. He's done 3 3-pointers in a minute 10, I believe.
What game was that?
Was it Minnesota? It's going to piss me off now that I can't remember. But I remember distinctly Jace Richardson was driving on a fast break. This would have been for possession 3, and dished the ball in a clear, like, he's heating up. Is he on fire? And then Tre hit another one.
The answer was yes.
Like, it was, yes.
Yeah, he has done this before this season.
I think we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Jace Richardson because he did play so well and he did so much great stuff. But to me, Tre won this game for us. That's where I'm at.
It's hard not to say that. I think my initial reaction to seeing a lot of the posts, I, of course, again, only saw the first 10 minutes of this game live, and then we were with some friends and the children wanted to watch Sing 2, so I got overruled on that.
So you're just like, Sing 2 it is.
It is.
We're now a Sing 2 podcast.
We're a Sing,
let's go.
So let's talk about Sing 2. So I watched this, but it's just following along on social media, it sounded like this was Jace Richardson's team and Jace Richardson's game. And in some ways, Jace Richardson's week. And in many ways, I think that's true. I think that's a fair summary in terms of points scored, in terms of impact moments in times like, moments when the game could have turned. But I don't think there was a player who put it away, who put it fully out of reach for Michigan in a emotionally devastating way, in a way that just communicated to Dusty May, stay seated, just stay seated there and keep knitting or whatever it is you're doing with your time.
Yeah. You got your extension this week, so you can quietly quit during the final 2 minutes. It's fine.
Did he? Indiana can still hire him. Tre ends with 18 points, 2 boards, 4 assists, 2 turnovers, I believe both on Cullen Carr. Oops. The thing actually, though, the one comment I'll sort of push back on as it relates to is that Tre won this game, because this was also a good Fears night with 10 points. Jace makes everyone else's life easier. Their zone was effective for a time until Jace said no. Like, we saw a real sort of Neo in the Matrix moment, right? Like, I don't need this shit. And he just did it. And
that's a reference to a film that came out before Jace Richardson was alive. And not by like days or weeks, by like probably close to 10 years. But continue.
But you got it, reference. And probably most of our listeners, based upon the demographic data that we have. Yeah. But the point being is that once Jace was able to assert himself against the defense that Michigan was running, the other guards just followed suit. So Jace ends up, honestly, I'll take his 21.6 boards and 0 assists to the Fears with 10, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, and Holloman. Holloman had a great game, but like Jace had an impeccable game.
Yeah. It's good to see him getting the most minutes of anyone on the team. Is this the first game, maybe, that's happened in?
It's the first game that I think someone's clocked over 30 minutes.
Well, I think there have been games where, like, Jaden Akins has done that, which, by the way, I know he had some highlight reel plays in this game, but defense was good. Thank you.
He's not let his offense affect all of the other parts of his game. And so, like, that's a super mature thing. I mean, that's worth commenting on.
And you talked about this on Sheehan, Book and Fiddler. Book hits a 3. Big 3. We like it.
We loved it. Important moment.
Didn't really make any other impacts between those two guys. So
I'll still take my
It's not all good. So you did an hour on this game with someone else, and now you're here with us. We're only at 29 minutes. What else you got?
It didn't mean anything.
Don't worry about
I don't believe that shit.
Huckleberry.
lockdown Spartans, baby. That's nothing to me. That was all warm up. Don't worry about it.
A couple other things stood out to me. This was a game where our bigs got in a bit of trouble, in foul trouble. Zapala, Kohler had a kind of a stinker of a game.
Here's another one.
This isn't the first time that we've seen that happen. I think we saw that against Indiana, I believe. Had a lot of trouble with our backcourt in foul trouble. Maybe a testament to the athletic limitations of that crew.
Yeah, I said we didn't see a whole lot from Vladislav. He had 21 points, and he did get some fouls.
It's the other dude we didn't see a lot of, I don't think.
I also, though, I kind of stand by we didn't see a lot of. He had that, like, Wolf was the one that had the little, like, behind the back thingy guy, right? I kind of don't. Everyone had been talking up Goldwyn is like this all-world player. I didn't see it, but he did score 21 points. So, like, if we're excited about Jace's 21 points, I guess he had to give him his flowers for that. It just didn't seem like it. I don't know. I'm all about vibes. You guys.
Vibe check. Great.
I
love that.
I would say Golden is better because of Wolf. I don't know. Like, if you had Trey Kaufman-Renn there instead, I mean, you got an elite setup at that point in time. Like, I think Golden is really benefiting from how good Wolf is. And Wolf is that behind the back pass.
Beautiful.
It was insane. And I hated him for it.
Do we think a player who proposes to their girlfriend on a night they've gotten beaten by over 10, does that bode well for that player's continued success in the program? Or how do we feel about that?
Did you see Tom asked about this?
Tom was asked about this? No, I did not see that.
Yeah, I believe Reese Davis. I'm going to feel terrible if it wasn't Reese Davis, but I believe it was Reese Davis asked him about this. And Tom's
Reese Davis from college football game day. Reese Davis.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure.
I mean, he was at Flint for a long time while Tom Izzo was a head coach. So like they know each other.
Yeah.
But continue.
But he was asked, "Do you feel bad about ruining this moment?" And Tom was genuinely confused by that question. Like, and he's like, "We don't do that here. I've got 600,000 living alums. Like, no, I don't feel bad."
Was he also like, this young man is throwing his life away, getting engaged at 22 as a college basketball player, making NIL money? Like, what are you doing?
Is he 22? I mean, the way basketball players are these days.
Who knows? Who knows how old he is? I don't care. It's too young. Stop it.
Stop it. Stop it.
Stop it. Don't do this to yourself. Don't paint yourself into this corner. That's for later in life when you know for sure and you're really pleased in your relationships.
Really, so
anyway, I'm going to stop telling on myself. And you guys,
no. Let
me just make sure that my wedding ring is caught here on camera.
Oh God. Anyway, gross.
Yeah, I will say there's nothing that I saw in this game that makes me particularly worried about the return trip.
Yeah, I heard you say that. You got asked by Sheehan how you feel about all the games that we have coming up, all last 4, and you said that we were going to go 4 for 4. Do you think? Let me ask you this, podcast host. Do you think this 9 for 22 from 3 is replicable?
All right, so what are we taking off there? We're taking
half of those, which is more than 12 points, which is about the difference in this game.
Okay. I'll buy what you're selling there for a second. You're also assuming that in that particular moment, we didn't continue to kick their ass on the boards and don't net those points in another way, shape, or form.
Okay. Like, I think you're right a little bit in that I'm not that worried about Michigan on senior night coming to East Lansing when they have a coach that doesn't know how to close a gap in the last 2 minutes or even be alive, I think, during that time.
I think there's two things here, right? Like, how many points, if we're going to do that game, how many points were you spotting them for home court? And if we're going to do that game, then I guess I'd also say, because we saw this out of Trice, right? It was Trice, right, who got insane right before the tournament.
Yeah.
From three.
Yeah.
And I'm not proposing that's going to happen for us here, but we've seen it happen before. How we were the recipients of Napier going insane in the tournament, unfortunately ending our run, right? Like, we've got dudes on this roster who can shoot the 3-point ball. We've seen them successfully do it for years. We also have an emerging Jackson Kohler who might weirdly actually be pretty okay at it. Like, I don't know. 9 for 22, fine. You can push back on that, but, like, I'm not worried about it when they come to East Lansing.
The other thing that I'm going to say is you want to go back into the history of MSU basketball. There was a certain Kalen Lucas team that got really good at shutting down other teams in the final 5 minutes of games, and that got them all the way to the national championship game in Detroit, Michigan. Now, what happened when I was at that game and when we were there and played, who knows? That part's lost to history. But getting to that game involved a lot of lockdown defense in the last 5 minutes of contest, and it took them pretty far.
That was an all-world North Carolina team, right?
Well, it doesn't seem like it now, but at the time, it looked like perhaps the greatest college basketball team that had ever been assembled. No one knows who Psycho Tyler Hansbrough is these days.
It doesn't matter if you played I know who
he was. A guy whose number was already retired while he was still playing at North Carolina.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
It's not an Illinois thing. That's Illinois is going to be like, we've made it now. We're going to start retiring people mid-season.
It was their justification for it, if I remember correctly, was that they have specific criteria, and if you win National Player of the Year, you get your number retired. So he won National Player of the Year, and then he played his senior year, and so his number was already in the rafters while he was playing on the court. It was weird.
Wild.
Bizarre.
But you know what? Credit to them for having standards.
And sticking to it.
And
except for they gave up on that on their academics further down the line, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Sports is all it's all nothing. It's all nothing. NCAA can't do anything. Anyway, continue.
I don't think I've got anything else on this game other than also we shot fine. You want to play the 3-point game? We shot 42.9% from the free throw line in the second half.
Which is why Plum wishes that we had just lost. Deserved it.
Well, we did lose. We lost the moral victory for fucking sure.
Also, did they outdo us? Oh, even on fast break points, I don't think that's going to happen again. They didn't cough the ball up as much as they normally do. Michigan, that is. There's plenty of things that went in their benefit that it don't normally. So I refuse to be worried about them.
Can I, Jonesy, you do all the media stuff. Has anyone asked Dusty May about why he didn't bother to coach for the last 2 minutes of the game? Because it really bothers me. Like, just basketball wise.
Though didn't some other teams not extend on us recently? And the only thing because I think there's a couple other games where people didn't foul where you're like, Fran would have fouled.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was. It was very confusing because we had, what was that, 21 or 22 rebounds in about 30 seconds in our front court, and I sort of was like, they've also quit. Their coaches quit. They've quit. No one's trying. No one's fouling. We're just gonna let these last 2 minutes just run completely out.
Right. They're just gonna let us dribble these crucial seconds off the clock. It reminded me of when Brady Hoke punted in like 2012 down like 14 points against us. And I was just like, did you have any interest in even attempting to win?
Are you having a stroke?
Is there something where the margin of victory as it relates to your net ranking matters?
Are you suggesting that Dusty May was over there like, no, let them win?
Well, the only reason I bring it up is
ranking. Think of the net ranking.
The only reason I bring it up is that I think we've seen a couple other teams do this to us, and it's odd that it's not actually not even your net ranking, like it's a Ken Pom, etc., right? Like you can keep fouling, but that has the very real potential of extending the lead substantially, right? Because you're going to take free throws by a team that shoots statistically 85%.
Not on this day.
Well, fine, but then you're going to go over and shoot maybe 50% on the other end of the floor.
Okay.
Your points per possession don't track there.
We spent a lot of time citing box plus minus and usage and all those things. But if this is even a little bit true,
I'm throwing a hypothesis out.
I would look at Dusty May in the face and be like, stats are for losers, idiot. You got housed by 13 at home with your people walking out the door. Yeah. If there was even anything in his brain that was like, but think of the net ranking, you should quit. It should be over for you. You're not a real basketball coach. Jesus, I hope for the sake of the sport that's not true.
I'm sure it's not. Again, I'm throwing a hypothesis out there because I do think we saw that with Underwood at the end of that game. And,
I've seen this
and Painter didn't foul either.
I've seen this with Dusty May before. I saw his FAU team lose because he wasn't fouling and calling timeouts and calling plays and just like letting the guys go at the end of games. And it was like, that's why I called him fool's gold before he got hired at Michigan, because it's like, you're not going to coach in those crucial minutes.
Yep.
What are you for?
Real Aaron Burr situation. All right. Plum got it.
There's a James Madison joke, those of us not in James Madison.
Hamilton the musical. Anyway, let's move on and chat some women's hoops. Rough West Coast trip for the women. L to number 1 UCLA 69-75, and then L to number 4 USC 75-83. That UCLA game was we were sort of live streaming it.
We were watching it instead of podcasting.
But that tough down the stretch. Freilich took a technical that I don't think anyone's gotten a great explanation on, which tells me that it was worth it.
So good.
Worth it. But either way, again, number 1 and number 4 in the country. Tough trip either way. I think we can say fought admirably out west which is an emerging program under Freilich, but still, that UCLA game, they could have had that one. That one stings a little bit. But came back home and they got the memo. Also, apparently live streamed at Breslin during their practices. Forks down today, forks down tomorrow, forks down forever. Stomp Indiana 73-65. Great work.
Yep.
All around. Should be soundly in the tournament.
It's interesting. You look over at Torvik, Ally, the only one doing tempo-free stats for the women's game that I'm aware of. They have just really been hovering in that just over 20 range. Like, it doesn't matter what they're doing, doesn't matter who they play. They are locked in that like 20 to 22 range. They're a fun team to watch. They're like I felt for him when we were watching the UCLA game, and I would like to know what Robin Freilich said, because she was like walking back to the huddle as she got teed up. Would have liked to have known what that was about, but really
I don't know what
took
Dusty said, by the way.
Yeah, who gets teed in the first half?
He was so
at
confused too. But credit to Paul Zelk, who this podcast noted. I mean, we like Paul Zelk almost as much as we like Pat Driscoll, but it's a lot. And he wasn't having it. He thought you're a baby. You have the name of a stripper. You're gonna fuck you. Sit down.
You think you're so cool with your extension this week?
Yuck.
Yep.
Icky.
So anyway, good for the women to get right against a Torvik 30 Indiana team today. So,
all right, let's chat some hockey. This one's rough. I think what the lesson we learned is, and because we have questions coming up about this, but that Kelly Green is ass, and if you wear it, you play like ass.
bad things happen.
Bad people hurt bad people in this situation, and that Kelly Green was a hate crime. So I don't know. What was the final score by the Penn State ass kicking at home for senior night?
Well, the first game was technically a tie that we then lose in the shootout. And then unfortunately, yes, it does not go well in the last game. And I'm pulling it up because I did not fully. Oh, it was only 3-2. We can do that.
I saw it 3. It was 3-0 at one point in time, and then I think we got a shorthanded goal, so it came back a little bit. But whatever.
So here's the good news. Well, first off, let's start with the bad news. The bad news is MSU is no longer in control of its own destiny in the Big Ten title race. It is now 2 points back on Minnesota. Here's the good news. As we established last week, and then we saw, Penn State is really hot right now. Who do you think they're playing this week, Penn State?
Minnesota.
And they're playing them at home. So here's what your Michigan State Spartans would like to see this week. We go on the road to Notre Dame, who is still Dudu Kaka, and the hottest team in the Big Ten goes ahead and takes care of Minnesota at home. And if both those things happen, there's a banner.
You're telling me there's a chance. All right.
Yep. So the schedule, as unfortunate as this is, and as sometimes the puck goes the other way. There's still a really good chance that all of this ends up working out.
This feels like a real fat and sassy situation that happened, and there's no excuse. And I personally am going to take Adam Nightingale's pizza oven away until he fixes this shit. So get it together, Adam, because you know what? It's one loss in the tournament, and you're gone. So you don't have time for the puck to bounce the other way, which maybe means you should control the neutral zone a little bit better than you do. Think about that, Adam. I actually don't really care for they give.
Is that even what happened in this game? Like, do you know why Penn State won?
Yes.
Turnovers?
Yes.
Is that it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. All right. Well, let's say you want to put the Flames out on a couple hockey losses. Is there a good place on I-94 near Clear Lake Road to do that?
Yeah, there is. So discover the heart of Michigan at Mama's Mercantile and Eatery.
The heart of Michigan?
I'm sorry.
Hey, I'm sorry.
Turn this off.
Chat
next.
GPT wrote
Next.
this, and we're going
This
to
is
read it.
awful. I'm offended by this.
Where homemade dishes meet locally sourced ingredients.
Jesus
Founded
God.
by inspiration from great family meals, Mama's offers a full-service dining experience as well as takeout. At Mama's, you'll find many of the Michigan-made products featured on our menu, allowing you to bring a piece of their kitchen to yours. From their hearty prime rib French dip to the flavorful roasted jalapeno poppers, the menu. I hear you sighing. The menu celebrates the rich agricultural diversity of the Great Lakes state. Pair your meal with a selection from their curated list of craft cocktails, local beers, and fine wines. Head to Mama's at 4450 Clear Lake Road, Grass Lake, Michigan. Whether you're dining in or ordering online, experience great food, drinks, and atmosphere at Mama's. Visit mamasmerc.com for menus, online ordering, and more. Come as a guest. Leave his family.
This is awful.
I hate
this
you.
is awful.
I hate you.
This is
I
awful.
hate you more than anything.
This is fucking awful. Can I just say this? Can I just first? It sounds like it could have been written by Susan. That's one. Two is at Mama's you'll find blah 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 allowing you to bring a piece of their kitchen to yours. What the fuck does that even mean? That's like AI generated people with no face or like hands that are hooves, which is to say Carson Cooper. I fully don't get it, and that's a real awful fucking line there. Ooh,
and
God.
ChatGPT, it doesn't even mention you're 10% off by awful.
No, say it.
Truly
Say
awful.
it. Say it.
No,
Finish the ad read.
I
Finish
won't
the ad read.
do it. Not under these
Mention
circumstances.
can't read, can't write, and you get 10% off of your bill at Mama's Burkett.
10% off.
Speaking of ad reads, I did notice that after the king of all MSU podcastery, Matt Sheehan, gets past the half-hour mark, there's no more ad reads after that.
Did he have
He's
an
out.
insert? Because he only had to do one live read.
I think he had there were a couple inserts, but I was like, oh, we're in uncharted territory now. Are there still ads for this? And the answer appeared to be no. But
That must be why Daddy Locked On does not care for.
Oh, interesting. Inside baseball for everyone. Okay, we should actually move on from
I can just promise folks, though, that the quality of the food is better than the ad read. So do check them out, us notwithstanding.
Thank you for bringing us back around, Plum. I appreciate you on that.
Yuck.
All right. Let's see what ad read 2 is. All right, let's head off Grand River, and we've got a note here that's highlighted on the Big Ten and SEC and the college football playoff. This, I believe, came from Ross at Yahoo Sports. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, the Big Ten and the SEC are colluding now and would like to change the format of the college football playoff to suit their interests and do it very much at the expense of all of the other conferences. So there is nothing concrete, nothing set yet, but we are on a bit of a villain arc right now in the Big Ten. And it goes back to our old theme about college sports falling apart, being hollowed out, and how, the conferences are doing it to themselves. And I guess we're in the right club for the moment, but it doesn't make me feel good. Mm-hmm. It makes me uncomfy, Alex Plum. Mm-hmm. So anyway, just wanted to put in a note on that, and we will bring it to you if things progress any further. But there were discussions between the Big Ten and the SEC in New Orleans, I think, of all places. Interesting.
Yeah, and why not?
So anyway, Plum, you put soccer exclamation point.
Soccer exclamation point. Well, I thought this was interesting. It's a little off the old GR Av, as it were. U.S. Soccer, which is the entity responsible for the men's and women's national teams in this country, as well as largely the infrastructure on which officiating and national team progress happens within soccer in this country, with the exception that it has no purview over intercollegiate or interscholastic high school sports, nor the myriad leagues, volunteer leagues, AYSOs, and stuff like that. And so we were very interested to see, Jones put this into our group chat earlier today, a partnership forming potentially between U.S. Soccer and the NCAA around expanding for some programs, 32 programs particularly, between the ACC and the Big Ten, along with a few other programs, expanding men's soccer to a 2-semester platform. Right now, men's soccer and women's soccer in the NCAA is played in the fall. Mm-hmm. Now we would be talking about potentially having the men's program, at least for these 32 programs, play in both the fall and the spring, which would align with how soccer is played, at least in Europe, which is over the starts in the fall, goes through the winter, ends in the spring, off for the summer. MLS is a little different. MLS season begins in the spring. I think they've just started in the United States. They play through the summer, they end in the fall. A little bit cattywampus compared to how the actual elite leagues of the world play, but that's just us. At any rate, this is interesting. 12 weeks is the men's soccer league in the NCAA right now. It's pretty compressed to get those games in. There are questions on the extent to which that's helpful in terms of formation for guys who are looking to potentially go either pro and play in the MLS or be in the feeder system to be on the men's national team. Some of our best players in this country, Christian Pulisic, probably chief among them, leave as teenagers and go to Europe, where their development really takes off. So, historically in the 80s and 90s, college was kind of the only thing that existed. We didn't have a really functional pro league in the 80s. The North American Soccer League ended in the late 70s. And it was until the mid 90s that the MLS picked up, and the early MLS days were awful. You may recall they had hockey style shootouts, and it is a going concern now in a way that it certainly was not in the 90s. So I don't know. I think this is an interesting thing. I will say, as a person who was involved at a high level of refereeing for some amount of time, this was talked about and bandied about for years and years and years.
Really?
Maryland's coach, Sasha, he was instrumental, I think, in this. He was called out in the article. He's been pushing for this style, this structure, from at least 2014, maybe even earlier than that. I know it really picked up as we got close to 2020, and then the pandemic put a break on all of that. But it's interesting. It would be unusual in the NCAA. Obviously, all of our team sports are single season sports. They don't cross semester gaps like that. So this would be a unique thing. It would comprise all of the men's teams, at least as this initiative has been put forward for the Big Ten and the ACC, as well as some programs like West Virginia. I think Kentucky was on there. The SEC does not field men's soccer. They only field women's soccer. And so programs like Kentucky, South Carolina, who have played, typically align themselves with either Conference USA or with the ACC. Oregon State, I think, was also named. They didn't have any, I don't think any, maybe one or two other West Coast teams. So just interesting to see this. Notably missing the winner of last year's College Cup, Vermont, which I think they were a little bit irked by, but we'll see if this goes anywhere. Could be good for soccer in general. I think we've talked about this far more than anyone probably listening cares, but I'm excited about it.
I do have sort of two questions related to this. One is, it feels like, particularly with the House settlement, that there's a potential Title IX consequence as it relates to this.
Yep.
The other is that this was pushed. That I believe at least what I saw, the narrative was that this is about U.S. soccer getting better, and being able to compete at an international level.
Right. Well,
that's interesting to me, only because it seems to me that the women have been kicking ass just fine for a long time, and they didn't need year-round college soccer. So I'm sorry, what?
No, and I
that
think
doesn't make any fucking sense, and in fact feels dumb.
I will say that in terms of how the sport is played internationally, this does bring it into alignment with that. You're right. The women haven't needed it, but the investment in women's soccer globally is not comparable to the investment in women's soccer in the United States. I mean, what we've done for women's soccer in the U.S. has had a ripple effect globally. You just don't see that level of, maybe in England, maybe in Germany, maybe in the Scandinavian countries.
Of Title IX?
I think on some level it has to be, because college soccer has been for women the pathway to the women's national team. It's been the pathway to professional soccer in Europe and in areas where there were professional women's leagues before the United States had the NWSL operating at the level that it does today. Because for too long we had no kind of feeder system, and so it really was women's collegiate soccer that was that feeder. Men, it's just been a different game. It's been a different gambit entirely. So bringing this into line is interesting. What U.S. Soccer gets out of it, I mean, obviously it's clear. The idea is that they're going to be shoveling money into these programs in some way, probably like through a transfer cap, kind of like what happens right now in U.S. Soccer when players transfer out of MLS to other programs. These programs get transfer fees for that. Facilitating something like that to the school under the rubric of NIL or whatever is probably what U.S. Soccer would be looking to do. Again, tied to whatever metrics they need to demonstrate that these players are improving to the level that they would be qualified potentially to be recruited to play on the men's national team program. So 12 weeks is a compressed schedule. It's not normal for soccer. It isn't normal in the professional divisions. It's not normal outside of the professional divisions. The question is whether or not, I guess U.S. Soccer is saying basically the structures that we've set up, the feeder structures that we've set up in terms of our youth academies and semi-pro leagues, they're still not generating the kind of talent we need to see, and having just missed out on a World Cup, maybe there's some proof there. And so where there are more resources, where NIL is potentially making it more attractive for players to go to college, stay in college, play in college, and U.S. Soccer is seeing an opportunity to invest money in that, could be what it takes. Two hands together to push this forward. So interesting to see if it works out, and what if impact, if any, it has on players staying in for all 4 years, which has been consistent. Most soccer players in the United States start as freshmen, finish as seniors. You know, they use their full eligibility, and they're not jumping ship to go get signed by LA Galaxy and leave college early. That you're just not seeing that with any consistency.
This is sort of a we're going to take the 3-star trash recruit situation, because you're not getting signed and you're not leaving, and we're going to hope to develop. We're taking a D'Antonio approach to
some extent, but most MLS programs are not signing guys out of high school. So this idea, I mean, some of these MLS programs do have Galaxy. I think maybe whoever is in Texas, whatever, the FC Dallas, they have academy systems and structures, but there's no money in it. So this idea that you might get recruited out of high school to go move to Dallas and be in the academy structure and play USL 2, which is third tier soccer, like not great games on not great pitches against not great opponents, where you're just as likely to get injured as you are to show off and get elevated for almost no money. That can't be compelling versus like, maybe not a full ride, but decent scholarship money at a university where all of your costs are covered in terms of the sport, and you're playing in an environment that's fairly controlled and disciplined, and you don't have Division I soccer in the United States is a far cry from the Wild West of Division III, Division II, second or third tier pro soccer, which is
probably better weight rooms and nutrition staff.
100%. Yeah. So your ceiling there, I think, is much higher on the collegiate, which is the differentiator, or at least it should be. Now, this is different if you're Christian Pulisic level. If you're that good, you're absolutely going to Europe, but you were going to Europe at 13. So by that point, you're already in their system. College is not probably, it's an afterthought, because those guys are getting penned and at million euro contracts in the second division, third division in Italy. That there's just real money available. Yeah. Maybe not at that level, but real money.
I don't care about MLS being better. I do care about us actually competing for a World Cup at some point in my life.
And I do care about us not talking about soccer anymore. Illinois Duke, Plum. What do you?
A real beauty, gentlemen. A real fucking beauty. I just want to say this: going to Madison Square Garden, which we got to experience. All right, lovely. I think, right? Mm-hmm. Not so for our friends down in Urbana-Champaign. Awful. And to lose, I think, what was it? 110 to 60? Was it even 60?
I believe 63? I saw that it's their biggest loss in program history.
I believe 67. It is the largest loss in Big Ten history.
43 points. 43 points is only 24 points fewer than they actually scored. And that was the differential. When you give up 75% of your points, that's just awful. So quite embarrassing. What I bring it up, though, not to rub salt in the wound, although that feels nice.
Can we just put a little pin on?
Yeah.
Cooper Flagg only had a mere 16 points in a 110-point contribution, or in a 110-point whopping by Illinois. The number one overall pick had 16 points out of 110. Sorry, keep going.
Well, Brad Underwood should be fired for this performance. Just FYI to everybody. I think they've been sick and maybe some injuries afoot. That's at least what some of the blogs were saying. I don't buy it. But my concern was we played them not super long ago. We beat them by 14, which is convincing and good. But we didn't beat them by 47. So I do want to kind of reconcile that with you both, because I know that we're ranked 10, 2, 12, whatever we are. Not the rankings don't really matter. Duke is 3. This seemed like a big chasm. It seemed like a lot of points. So what is the implication for us? And I'm going to prognosticate because we're very close to March. So I don't know. Should we be reading anything into this? We only beat them by 2 back in January, Illinois. So. And in January, we were still fairly good as a program. That was a game that was almost a gotcha. But I don't know.
Well, we believe in the transitive property, right, Plum?
Got it.
100% reliable transitive property. So we lost to Kansas by 6-7 points, right? Something like that, in a game that we all agreed was actually closer.
Yep.
And Duke lost to Kansas by about 3 points. So really, we're about 4 points off of Duke via the transitive property.
Great.
Now, Duke is really, Duke is like housing teams right now when they win. But they did just lose to Clemson. So it can happen. Because Clemson is not like a world-destroying team. They're KenPom 23, so below us right now. So it's not impossible. But yeah, let's see. Duke beat Cal by 20, beat Stanford by 30, beat Virginia by 20, and now Illinois by 40. So they're on a bit of a heater at the moment. But
there you go.
Transitive property. Kansas.
And that was Kansas before they really, really hated each other, which is where they are currently. Yep. Just full. I mean, Bill Self said recently, we need to not be near each other right now. So, all right. Last up. Yeah, why don't we do this? We should say here, none of us knows Andy Isaac, but
and you should explain who Andy Isaac is for the audience.
Yeah, in case anyone doesn't know, at World of Isaac on Twitter was I believe a writer in sort of the blogosphere early on about Detroit sports. Well known among media members. I don't have his full LinkedIn bio, but was certainly a massive Twitter personality, if nothing else. Known for telling me something good that happened to you today. Plenty of fuck the Bears videos or pictures. I believe one in Skittles, which was fantastic. And then delightfully something hashtag Fatter Day, where at times he would eat things that so you didn't have to. And Andy's not kept it a secret, and so but has been battling cancer for a really long time now, and has opted to go towards hospice care at this point in time. And so it was, I think it's worth celebrating a human being who had a ton of Twitter personality that clearly contributed so much to the world that every single major sports team in Detroit and your Michigan State Spartans honored him on their Jumbotron with a hashtag Fatterday. And if I could make a tenth of that kind of contribution in the world of joy, I'd consider myself a very successful man. And so I don't have much to say other than as much as I will join Andy in fuck the Bears, but fuck cancer. And so, I don't know. Didn't know him, don't know him, but gave my life joy, genuinely just by seeing his energy and positivity. So,
Yeah.
and I think, it's not like we've all had cancer touch our lives in ways. And so, yeah, fuck cancer.
Boo.
Here, here.
Also, want to give a quick shout out before we move to Twitter questions. Colin Jankowski, I don't know if you listen to this podcast any longer, but saw your segment on, I believe, Fox 47 as it relates to Barry. Barry, right? Not Jerry.
Barry
Greer.
Yes. Yep.
And it was fantastic. It's wild to have known you as a college student and now out in the professional world. It's making me feel weird, but well done and great coverage, Colin. So
Yeah. Colin, there was a Fox game that I left the TV on after it was over, and then you're a little like, I'm Colin covering East Lansing, and I was like, I was very Leo, screaming and pointing at the TV like and we're proud of you, but I don't know if you're going to hear this, but good for you.
yeah, seriously. All right, let's. We got previews to do. Shit. All right, let's.
Well, we'll
let's
do them
this.
fast. No one listens to us for previews.
No one cares.
2 games this week. Go on the road to Maryland, who is Ken Pom number 15, 17 on offense, 20 on defense. And they got some guys that are cooking right now. Jacoby Gillespie is the point guard from Belmont, transfer point guard. He's playing really well. The good news is in all of this that 1, we're on a bit of a heater ourselves. And 2, I think I saw somewhere, and this is maybe a couple of weeks ago, maybe it's out of date, maybe it was never true at all. I can't be bothered to independently verify this, that their starters play together more than any other 5-player rotation in the country. They are just not a deep team by any measure.
I'll take that.
Now, this is a big game for them. Presumably, you beat the number 12 and number 13 teams in the country. Presumably, you go up in the rankings. We were already pretty close to that. Maybe we're top 10, something like that, coming into town. It's going to be a big game. But if we have the chance to use that depth that we've talked about, and we're not even worried about quarterback controversies, we're so comfortable with the amount of depth that we have, I think we've got a good shot of winning this game. And Jonesy, you said on Sheehan that we're going to go for 4 for 4 in the last 4 games of the season. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to say on that.
Why would I pick against that?
Here. Manifest. The other game that we're going to play is against Wisconsin at home, and they are your Ken Pom number 9 team. Ken Pom,
they're on a heater.
They're on the heater.
Heat it up.
But also Ken Pom tends to like Wisconsin no matter who the coach is. Yeah. Offense number 8, 37 on defense. And they also have a transfer player, John Tanji, I think is his name. He's like a journeyman wing. He started at Colorado State, moved on a couple of times. Also playing really well. They have been, what are their most recent games? Remind me of this. They just lost to Oregon. So they were up big on Oregon, and then it fell apart and they lost in overtime. But before that, they had rattled off the last 5 games as wins, including a couple on the road at Iowa and Purdue. So they're playing well, but they just dropped one at home to Oregon. And they're coming here to Breslin Center. So get yourself out there and let's secure this Big Ten championship. Please? Please?
We will celebrate. And we've already mentioned on the road at Notre Dame, who is Greg, there was a distinct hockey term you used for Notre Dame. What was it?
I think that now we don't know puck as much as other people, but I think I've heard has been bandied about doo-doo caca.
That's right. That's right. That's what it was.
Yeah.
All right. We know puck. All right. Let's do these social media questions.
Nice. Look who updated the little crawl under there.
Wow, the Robbie to my own Hummel. God, I did something.
I think you were hummeling your Robbie. I don't know.
I would.
This is great timing for you, Plum, because I don't know about you, but I got an email this week from Jonesy asking the 5 things that I accomplished in the last 7 days. And you can put rebranded social media questions
Thank you.
as one of your 5. So hopefully
Thank
you don't
you.
get downsized by
Thank you.
Jonesy. Yeah.
Hashtag Joge.
Don't ever do that again.
Joge or something.
Joge.
I don't know.
I hate that so much. All right, let's move on. First social media question is from Mike Jones. The throwback hockey unis for Friday night were absolutely amazing. Wrong. Too bad the team played like dog shit, like the jerseys.
Well.
Why didn't we wear those for the outdoor game in Chicago? Did I answer this already? We're not.
Well, the outdoor game in Chicago was like throwbacks, and these are throwbacks to a poorer time, which you don't want. Yeah. So I'm not bothered by that. This reminds me, there have been some basketball jerseys over the course of the years that I could stand to never see again. I'm going to put these in that same category.
Yeah, but bring the script back. We'll take the script state back.
Yeah, we need that. We need that back. Plum, is there anything else to be said about? Is there a reason that Mike Jones likes these Kelly Green jerseys in particular?
You know, he's a good guy. He's a smart man. He has excellent taste in people like me and you both to a lesser extent.
He's very generous.
The generosity is unsurpassed. But you know what? No one's gonna bat 1,000. Okay, so he's batted 996. All right, you know the Kelly Green, not a winner. No one thinks it is, but him. So
I didn't know if there was
I
like
think we
a
actually have another
Flint-
question on this later.
Oh God, help us! Fuck.
I didn't know if there was a Flint area athletic team or something.
Don't drag Flint into this. They've been through enough. Okay.
It's the Kelly Green Coney Dogs.
Oh God, help you! God help you.
All right, next up from Mike Jones. After watching Indiana kick Caleb first in the nuts and then kick Purdue's asses, should Indiana extend Mike Woodson? People are saying. Did you see this call that happened?
Yes.
Plum?
I saw it on social media.
I did not.
There was a foul called that was reviewed, and that it reviewed for a definite kick to the nuts, and then the foul was taken away.
What?
And there was no call
Explanation given.
and the announcers were like, "Oh yeah, that's a flagrant. He's out of here." Like, this was Draymond would have been jealous by the coordination required and the deceit in real time, but straight up nut kick.
Was that Jeffrey Anderson on the call?
Esposito. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it probably is.
Should have
what's
put
next?
that in there, Mike Jones. You should know by now to always put the officiating angle explicitly in the.
Mike Jones.
Yeah, I would have expected that from you. Next up from Munfield Keg, Mike Jones, to you, specifically called out by Munfield Keg. Why must you make me disagree with you? I might have been high off that MSU win, but I thought you said you weren't as concerned with the Maryland game on Sheehan's podcast. No free plugs here, although we've already done that a lot. Thank you, Munfield Keg, for trying to save us from ourselves. I think it is a high alert game. Guards that can shoot the three and tough post players who score.
Okay, let's dissect here. Michigan State has not been blown out once this season. Second, it remains Maryland, and I just can't take them that seriously. Third, you talk about guards who can shoot the three-point play. Fletcher Lawyer, I believe, was known as that. So was some jabroni at Michigan. I can't be bothered to remember his name. Greg, do you have Torvik up? What's our 3-point defense nationally, by any chance?
Hold. 3-point defense is number 7.
Oh, no. Is that good?
And then
look,
if we go to conference games, it's top of the conference.
oh, boy. Like, I said this on Sheehan. Yeah, is it possible we lose a game? Absolutely. But at some point in time, and it's taken me until this point to get here, where I've said, we're good. Like, why should we be going into these games feeling anything other than that we are good and demanding excellence of our team because they're quite capable of it? So, yeah, 4-0.
I also think I'm not going to say that we're going to be undefeated over the next 4 games, but I think if you manage to only drop one of at Maryland, Wisconsin at home, at Iowa, and Michigan at home, you're still going to win the Big Ten. Almost certainly. So,
but do you in isolation, is there a single one of those games that you would say, yeah, this is the one
that we lose?
Yeah. No, that you think not don't look at 4 of them and be like, oh, I got to pick one. No. Like, if you took them singularly, would you be like, we're going to lose that game?
I mean, this is the one that you would say that if you had to choose one singularly. Yeah.
But do you feel that way?
Well,
that,
it's hard to go and win on the
isolation?
road in the Big Ten, my man. We can discuss that.
You don't feel that way about Iowa. I know you don't.
Well, it depends on who Fran McCaffrey is going to attempt to stare down in the last 3 minutes of that game. If Kelly Pfeiffer is in the house, I'm not even going to watch the game because I'll just be scared for his well-being, which I've never been before for Kelly Pfeiffer. Next up from Nate C. I'm going to send this to Plum.
Hi, Nate.
If you can't win at home on senior night with a banner on the line, you don't deserve that banner anyway. MSU hockey is washed. Thankfully, no one cares.
What I love, what I've always loved about Nate, and I've said this many times, is that he makes my takes look hinged and and well reasoned. So, Nate, listen, I'm not going to disagree with you, my guy. It might be washed, and let me say this: if we lose to the Dudu Kakas down in wherever the fuck, South Bend, Indiana, then yeah, it is washed. It's washed in a shower of piss that we've pissed down our own legs. Okay. Otherwise, Kelly Green piss,
like so many
kidney
Kelly
failure. Oh God, yes. We don't see him anymore, by the way, and I'm so happy about that. That stated, there is still hope. We've talked about all of the matrixed outcomes that could result in us getting a banner, and we will hope for that. But that does require us not shitting the bed in Indiana. So.
Next up from Nate C, I'll throw this to Jonesy. The basketball team in snowboarding at Whistler is helping me find my zen this week. Snowboarding? I go, what year? How old are you, Nate?
Quiet brag there. Just a little. Just at Whistler.
A picture as well.
Just at Whistler. No big deal. Just here at Whistler. Just.
As someone who skied this week, quiet bragging of my own, I don't know that we can interact anymore.
Hold on a minute. I didn't know you were you on skis is something I would pay money.
It's just sort of like
be there.
Yeah. And I'm just sort of like flailing around, and the one ski goes up, and then the other one goes up, and then the poles are everywhere.
Why is he on the moguls? God.
Like, looks like Kramer. Fully looks like
Fully like Kramer.
I did get on the moguls, and then the moguls delivered me right back onto the slope as if to say, like,
no, thank you. Not for you. Not for you.
We're going to go ahead and just save you here and place you right back on the
right where you go
and greens that you're accustomed to.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Nate C was snowboarding at Whistler, which unfortunate. But Whistler is supposed to be beautiful. What will you be doing for yours? I think that means to find your zen this week.
I'm going to continue to watch Michigan State basketball, which doesn't provide me zen in the sense that anyone else thinks of zen, which is sort of this clear head. But it does get me sort of laser focused in a full-on anxiety-driven rage
that's good.
And alcohol-fueled, frankly. Next up, Thomas. Yeah, my doctors are fully supportive. Thomas Zambiasi, why haven't we seen more one-to-one throwbacks in football compared to other sports? I know you all are Kelly Green haters, but the hockey throwbacks, not to mention the basketball ones, are extremely good in my opinion. Greg, you kind of touched on this, Plum. Whoever, let's shut this down.
I'm not going to shut it down. I'm going to say this. I love nostalgia. We all love nostalgia. In fact, nostalgia is the one reason we're still doing this. So I don't know, Thomas, whether you were alive and can claim nostalgia to the Kelly Green, but I appreciate the nostalgia that exists and that hearkening back to our throwbacks as it was or were does something deep in our loins and ties us ever more poignantly to the school that causes nearly as much pain as it does joy. So if that's what folks need, if the Kelly Green does that for you, it doesn't for me, but I'll celebrate you and the choices you're making. Can we just leave it there?
The problem with me for Kelly Green
Good.
is that there's like a cheapness factor to it.
Right.
It feels very Stephen Barry's, and I can't get over it.
All right.
Speaking of that, though, then
I tried.
while we're on it,
I tried.
the one S on the side of the helmet, but not on the other, also speaks to a cheapness. I know Perlis loved the Steelers or some nonsense, but that looks cheap AF. Like you couldn't afford the decal on the other side. Let's stop with that. It's terrible. Block S sucks. Go with because that's what Penn State's logo is. Go with the helm. It's great.
Well, you tried to save us from ourselves, Plum, so do it again. The next from Thomas was, if you're a regular at your local coffee shop, should you get dibs on an actual table? Just a small one, nothing extravagant, for when you need to actually get work done. Writing isn't exactly easy on a corner bar stool with barely a ledge to set down your laptop.
I'll say this. I think the answer to that is yes, within reason. If your local coffee shop is a Starbucks, absolutely not. No one is entitled to anything at a Starbucks because icky poo poo yucky. But if you were, and I don't know if this is true in a college town either, because like God, I did a lot. Everyone is sort of a regular at what was it? Cafe Roy? What was it? Espresso Royale.
Espresso Royale.
I loved Espresso Royale, and I'm sad that it's gone now. God bless you in your memories. But so a college town's hard, because everyone's up there. What does a regular really look like? But if you live in, let's say, Swartz Creek, Michigan, and there is a coffee shop there. I actually don't know if there is. There probably is.
I was going to say, is there a coffee shop?
I don't know. Let's say that it's the Swartz Beans. Then, yeah. And you're a regular there? Absolutely. You should be able to text the owner, whose number you better have at that point, and be like, hey, FYI, if you wouldn't mind putting a little reserved sticker or something, or a napkin that just says hold for Plum, I would think that's completely reasonable, particularly if you're there and you're a good tipper.
Next time, Plum, you're in Swartz Creek, do stop by Fireside Coffee Company.
Oh, that is a thing. I do know that is a thing. Yes,
There's
Fireside
also
Coffee
a
Company.
Big B, which I refuse to acknowledge. And a
What's your
McDonald's.
Big B hate
He's
for?
still on the old name. Can't quite get over the old name.
Oh, because he likes
Great
the
Lakes
white
Smoothie is listed as a
supremacy of it.
coffee shop.
Yeah.
And Creative Cafe.
All right. Okay. Anyway, next up, Joe Ashworth. Joe asking, on another podcast, Mike Jones indicated uncertainty in the sustainability of Izzo's model given the new reality of college athletics. I disagree. Izzo's commitment to OKGs and stable NIL with upside for homegrown stars incentivizes roster continuity that might well become a competitive advantage. Care to respond, Michael?
Joe, don't think I fully said that. I
Are you calling Joe Ashworth into
A
question?
liar? You called him a
Wow.
liar. I think he
Joe,
called him a
this
liar.
is not the first time that Joe and I have disagreed about the level of nuance that he brought
boy.
to my takes.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Ooh, I'm very uncomfortable all of a sudden.
What I was saying is that we have 10 11 if you include Kurtang, who probably could be getting run, frankly, at Michigan right now. Dudes who have bought in to a moment. We talked earlier about Tre Holloman, who's a vital piece of this team, willingly going to the bench. Jason Richardson, son of an NBA great, waiting until deep into the season to get a starting spot. There's a selflessness to this team that is more than just homegrown talent. Like, I think we are watching maybe the last time we'll get to see something quite like this at Michigan State University.
So, Joe, I'm not sure you answered his question. I think you agreed with Joe Ashworth, really, more than anything.
No, I said I think it's unsustainable. I think this is not going to happen again.
You think this that we're seeing right now, we'll never see this again?
I think that's entirely possible, yeah.
Next up from Raymond, if Izzo makes it to the Final Four, will he retire? I'm going to take this one. No. Natty? Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, that's
Final Four? No. Next up from Raymond, if someone told you... Go ahead, Jonesy.
This is you imagine this for a second. Greg, if someone told you they used you for sex, would you feel flattered? Imagine.
Depends on if he was wearing his skis when they did it.
Or just the ski boots.
Or just the boots.
just clop.
Sort of leaning forward as you walk.
Just leaned into him.
Yeah.
I presume the answer is yes.
No. Don't presume. State your answer, Kevin Craig.
No, you can't be cheapened like that. Stand your ground, Raymond.
Stand your ground, Raymond.
Stand your ground. And finally, Raymond, why won't Matt? God, you really got around with this Sheehan episode.
Yeah,
we didn't need to talk about it ever.
No, I know. Fuck. You're not listening to this week. I mean, God, what new have we talked about?
Finally, from Raymond, why won't Matt Sheehan read my questions anymore? I'm not that in love with him. Just stick with us, Raymond.
Yeah, we're here for you.
Yeah.
Across
That's the
social
answer.
Media.
Next up, Ali asks, as demanded by the people, an ACL injury update.
Okay.
Physical therapist cleared me to run again, so I've been getting back into running. On the topic of running, does this team have a March Madness run in them? And will they play Duke in the Sweet 16 or Elite 8?
Well,
Duke will be in the same...
Oh, 100% it's going to fucking be. Of course it will. Fuck.
We're not going to be a 1 seed, and Duke is, which means that we're going to be in their region. And
but if we win out these games and do well in the tournament, we will get at least a 3 seed, which would have us playing them in the Sweet 16, right?
I do recall the last time that Duke had a generational talent that was the surefire #1 overall pick in the NBA draft. I think we did win that game, if memory serves. So let's do it again. Let's get in the habit.
Noted.
According to Bracket Matrix, we are the last 3 seed right now. In case
this team is starting to feel very 3 seed.
Very 3-ish.
I'll say this also. We talked about this, I think, last year, that at some point in time in the tournament, you have to play a good team.
There's no avoiding it.
And you know what you get when you beat that team? You get their free reign for the remainder of the tournament.
Yeah, beat them sooner.
Like, honestly, in some ways, if you could have a 1 seed for the first game,
yep,
it's your chance to be the 1 seed. Yep. All right, next up, Ali. Are we more back than the last time we said that we were back, which I believe was last week? Yes? Maybe? Sure. Okay, great.
Yeah, I think we're equally as back. Yeah.
Greg, G-Money Stew, did we sacrifice Red Savage to the basketball gods at the cost of the hockey team?
What a weird sacrifice. The basketball gods are like, bring us your hockey captain. I do know that Tom Izzo He wouldn't want anyone to know, but he would be like, Red's had a good run. We're not. He can watch. He can
Vlad
watch.
can hang out together.
Yeah. That would be a weird. I don't think that's usually how the basketball gods operate, but if it did go that way, hey, let's see what we get for our devil's bargain. Next up from G Money Stu, was really impressed with Zapala at the start of the year, but his stock has gone down a bit. Kind of wish he had another year in the Big Ten. Another year in the Big Ten. Feel like he could get better.
He might.
Oh.
He actually has another year he can petition for. So.
Yeah, he's got to put in word for that, and I don't think his prospects are better somewhere else. Like he'll get more NIL money here than anything. So
actually, a lot of the European teams require a certain percentage of native-born players to be on them. So he actually has decent pro prospects in the sense that he's Polish. So he can do that for quite a while and occupy a spot. I mean, he'll make more money here, but like he'll be fine overseas.
I had heard that the Americans get paid a little bit more because there's a quota to how many the maximum that they can have. So like it sort of drives up their value. It means that there's fewer American players, but I didn't know that about the natural born players.
Well, right. So there's a percentage of American players that can be on the team, right?
Yeah.
So the implication is that the remainder have to be from there. So you're right, but like in terms of a longevity perspective, he's a 7-foot Polish dude who played D1 basketball. Like,
sure,
he probably has a decent career in front of him.
Next up from Kurt Wazunski, did Ward Manuel / Michigan Mel Tucker Dusty May before playing MSU and basketball?
Plum.
Winooski.
Oof. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that either.
It's never great to. In fact, it's worse for them, right, Plum? Because Mel Tucker at least had the terrible COVID season before he caught fire. Dusty just has the one.
Yeah, Ward Manuel, giving Ward Manuel any credibility on any of this, though, I don't think the man is smart enough or intentional in any sort of life practice to have set Dusty May up for any kind of anything malevolent or successful. In other words, I think just shit happens there. And Dusty May certainly isn't trying to help himself. But to say that Ward did something, Ward seems very aloof and in the thrall of whoever is currently in vogue, whether that person wears khakis or not.
No. Next up from Kurt Wisniewski, I referenced this question earlier. Jonathan Smith is quietly assembling a strong 2026 recruiting pledge class, and that is right to call out. Any players stand out? So, Jonesy, I think you know my take on this. What do you think about Kurt's question here?
I don't care. Good.
Actually, but we're missing someone as I'm looking through the questions because we definitely had another comment about this. Yeah, you missed another one. So we're going to throw in that MSU dude who says the 2026 recruiting class for football has me pretty excited. Is it just wishful thinking or is it justified? Kurt.
MSU dude.
We need to raise the bar a little bit.
Yeah.
I think a few things are true. One, it is early in the cycle. Official visits, we're not in that season yet. So, like a lot of the players, you'll recall the fancy cars on the field at one point in time. That season hasn't happened yet. So the bulk of MSU recruiting for this class is not done. So it's early. You might be inclined to say that they nabbed a couple high 3 to 4-star recruits, depending on the service that you're looking at, and that's encouraging for this early on. I I'd like to believe that MSU could land a higher rated quarterback than what we got, but we've also seen, that some of our best quarterbacks were not highly recruited. I don't know. This class is it's too early to say. Who cares? I don't know. They might be good. They might not.
So Kurt, an MSU guy, I think one thing that we've established on this podcast is Mark D'Antonio was recruiting in the 20s nationally somewhere, and we thought at that time that he could do better. Maybe we need to just learn that there's a certain ceiling in MSU for one reason or another.
Very well.
We need to win games against other programs in the Big Ten. And right now, the number one team in the Big Ten for recruiting, according to 24/7, is USC with 1 5-star, 6 4-stars, and 3 3-stars. Now, maybe they'll squander that talent, or maybe they can't evaluate talent, and that's not good. But generally speaking, it's going to be hard to go up against USC with a differential like that. Oregon's number 2, 1 5-star, 6 4-stars. Penn State's number 4, 5 4-stars. We haven't even talked about Ohio State yet. Who's actually not doing that great, but like Ohio State's going to get theirs. We're also going to have to beat teams like Rutgers that currently have 2 4-stars, 2 3-stars, or Minnesota that have 2 4-stars, 2 3-stars. So
Minnesota's beating it? Oh my
God.
So
yucky.
it's gonna continue to be a problem, and I don't know how you're excited about it, honestly. I'd love to end up being wrong. I just don't see it yet.
And we're open to that possibility. We're open to the possibility that this all works out and that we are wildly wrong. But these dudes all go to camps to get evaluated by people who all they do is evaluate teenage boys, which is a weird profession to get into. And these teenage boys are also evaluated by a whole bunch of staffs. And notably, the dudes that are on our team were not offered by anyone that you would give a flying fuck about.
And that's why we do the peer group. I have that MSU dude next. I don't know if you put him there, but anyway.
Oh, shit. I must have missed him.
Oh, look at that. Interesting. I did it right. That'll go on my list of 5 things that I accomplished this week. Next up from MZA. What seed does a 3-1 record get them? Only loss being to Maryland. I kind of just covered this.
I think is that the 3?
It's feeling 3. I'm feeling 3, and maybe low 2 with a win in the Big Ten tournament, but 3
margin probably starts to matter, right? Like if we stomp Michigan at home, that probably matters. If we stomp Wisconsin at home, that probably matters.
There's a lot of basketball to play, but we seem to be in the 2 to 5 range right now, with 3 feeling right. Next up from what is this?
Large Catbo.
Large
Catbo.
Good to have you, Lord.
What
Large
football games next season are you most excited for? You can be home or away.
As long as it can't be home and home, I'm sure that I can be excited about that. I don't know. Does anyone know? Who are we playing even? Youngstown State. I'm excited for the Youngstown State game. We probably won't lose to them by 400. I don't know. We're playing Michigan at home. That'll be a good one. Oh, we're playing Penn State again. Ha! Cool.
Yeah. Land grants up for grabs.
Finally. So that's it. This is kind of an unexciting year. We're at USC. Yeah, Matt. I mean, going on the road to the West Coast has not been great for us so far, but that could be a fun game.
I don't know that we'll be able to, but I would, if I could travel to one, going to the Nebraska game, I think would be tops of my list.
Okay.
To do. I mean, that's it's
Lincoln in October.
Quite too cold.
Yeah.
Like it's October 4th. Like
it's early.
Yeah.
No. All right. Noted.
Who's next?
All right. 1963 asks, what MSU athlete, past or present, has earned the right to have you write their name on your forehead? Yeah.
It's probably only Cassius.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Drew Neitzel?
That was the plum, I presume.
For sure.
And he could do it either way. He could do it left hand, right hand.
Right hand.
Next up from Amopoleaf, Blueski. Question number 1.
You're missing the bit here. She's been writing BS question number and it clarified. And so, Mamopoleaf, I just want to clarify for you that all of our complaints about your questions over time can be distilled into this miscommunication. Like, you've encapsulated in a nutshell everything here. So, BS question number 1. Mm-hmm. Who do you think thought it was a good idea to place the JF letters on the basketball team uniforms? Shame on them. Agree or disagree? Plum.
I'm gonna disagree. I mean, it's kind of tired now, isn't it? Didn't we already do this? I mean, last year it was a thing.
No, this is the first year with it's Joel Ferguson. Joel Ferguson.
I thought it was about fears. I've been thinking it was for him. I thought this was something that we started doing last year. Yes, then I will. I agree that it is a shame on them. Joel Ferguson was a fuck stick, an imbecile, and a boob. And celebrating that man is about as ass backward as it gets. He loved the university. We share that in common. That may be the only thing we share in common, other than maybe our opprobrium toward the Republican Party currently. So 2 things, but that's about it. I recall as a student being very angry and quite disheartened by almost everything he said and did as the chair of the Board of Trustees. So rest in peace, my guy, but let's fucking move along.
With his little signature right there on our diplomas.
Goofy.
Really good.
Yep.
Love it.
Yep.
I know that he was an important guy for some people around the Lansing area. I was never impressed with him in any of his conduct or things that he said or the way that he carried himself or blah, 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 blah. BS question, and thank you, Jonesy, for explaining this. Number 2, what did you do to celebrate Canada's win in the 2025 Four Nations face-off? Eat crow? Oh, we got a spicy Monopoly. It's spicy.
Probably a tariff on that. I've noticed your geese have been down here a lot more lately, by the way. I didn't care. And also, does that mean that you went halvesies with us? You split with us Americans on your sport?
Did you see Trudeau's triumphant tweet?
My dude has been putting out bangers as it relates to everything USA Canada, and I actively cringed.
It's like he's the Mike Woodson of politics. Like once he's done and he's retired and he's out, like there's way less pressure. So he's just sort of like, all right, let's put it out there. I'm not the coach of this team anymore. I'm not the prime minister of this country, basically, at this point. Let's just go.
Do they even have a government right now?
I think they're getting ready for elections. So yeah, no, they have their
but their legislature's out right now.
Oh, then maybe not. Nothing's going on.
They don't actually have anyone to respond to our active threats against their sovereignty because they're worried about internal politics, which makes sense. But
because all of their PMs are ice skating up and down the river in Iowa, going from Beaver Tail Shack to Beaver Tail Shack, basically. Anyway, Ottawa's actually nice. You should go to Ottawa if you have the chance. I think there.
Mama, I believe what you've gathered from this is that we really respect Canada a lot here.
What a way to end!
All right, gentlemen, it's been a good week. We've got another big week in front of us. One game, 2 before we record. But until then, go green.
Go white!
Gonna end.